You know that feeling, right? You're at the grocery store, checkout, you bought the same stuff you always do, but the bill is higher. Again. It's not just food, it's gas, rent, a simple coffee. It feels like you're on a treadmill, running faster and faster just to stay in the exact same spot. It's a frustration we all get.
So what is actually going on here? Is it just that everything is randomly getting more expensive? Or is there something bigger happening? A system at play? It feels like the goalposts are always moving and your money it doesn't go as far as it used to. And look, that's not just a feeling, it's a real economic force, and we really need to get our heads around it.
And here is the absolute key question. If your dollar is losing its power, that value doesn't just poof, disappear into thin air. It has to go somewhere. It's being transferred. So the real mystery here isn't just why things cost more, it's who is on the winning side of that transfer. Where is your purchasing power actually flowing?
Okay, let's follow the money. In this explainer, we're going to break it all down. We'll start with that vanishing dollar, then dig into the two sides of debt. After that, we'll see where money flows first, compare the price of assets versus groceries, and then, finally, we'll get a clear tally of the winners and the losers.
So first up, debt. Because honestly, one of the most straightforward ways that inflation shifts wealth around is through the relationship between people who borrow money and people who lend it. It sets up this kind of fundamental conflict.
It's actually pretty simple. When you have unexpected inflation, borrowers get this massive advantage. Why? Because they get to pay back their loans with dollars that are worth less. They have less buying power than the dollars they originally borrowed. And on the flip side, the lenders, well, they lose. The banks, the bondholders, they get paid back with that same weakened money, which just crushes the real return they thought they were getting.
To really get this, we have to talk about the real interest rate. This is the number that truly matters. Forget this sticker price. The real rate is just the interest rate on your loan or your savings minus the rate of inflation. That's it. And that number tells you the real cost of borrowing or the real return you're getting.
So let's see how this plays out. Imagine you have a mortgage with a nice fixed 5% interest rate, but then, bam, inflation unexpectedly jumps up to 6%. All of a sudden, your real interest rate is -1%. That means in terms of actual purchasing power, the value of your debt is shrinking every single year. You are effectively paying back less than you borrowed.
And this dynamic creates some very clear winners and losers. You can see it right here. Homeowners with those fixed-rate mortgages, they benefit. Their debt literally gets smaller in real terms. But retirees on a fixed pension, they get hit, and they get hit hard. Their income just doesn't buy what it used to. And it's the same story for savers, and even for the banks who made those fixed-rate loans in the first place.
So, we've seen how inflation messes with debt, but the story's actually a lot bigger than that. You've probably noticed that the price of milk doesn't go up at the same speed as the price of a house. To really see who wins, we have to follow the money and compare everyday inflation with what's happening to big-ticket assets.
And this brings us to a really common puzzle. We hear on the news about huge increases in the money supply, right? Trillions of dollars. But then you look at the price of milk or bread, and yeah, it's going up, but it's not exploding at that same crazy rate. So where is all that new money actually going? Well, the answer is there are kind of two different types of inflation happening at once. You've got your consumer price inflation, or CPI, that's your groceries and gas, but then you have asset price inflation, and that's for things like stocks, real estate, bonds. And here's the big takeaway from the research. For the last few decades, since about the 90s, new money entering the system hasn't really been chasing milk, it's been chasing assets. And this chart just makes it crystal clear. Look at how the money supply and the S&P 500 have pretty much grown hand in hand. Now look at consumer prices, the CPI. It's a much flatter line. The data doesn't lie. All that new money has been pouring into financial assets, not into the stuff we buy every day.
Okay, so that just raises another question: why? Why does new money rush into assets first? To get that answer, we need to dust off a powerful, centuries-old economic idea that explains this whole process perfectly.
It's known as the Cantillon effect. The core idea, which goes all the way back to the 18th century, is that new money is not neutral. It's not like it's dropped from a helicopter and everyone gets an equal share. No, it's injected into the economy at very specific points. And this creates a sequence of winners and losers based purely on who gets their hands on that new money first.
Cantillon himself used a great analogy to explain it: a river. He said if you double the amount of water in a river, it doesn't just instantly start flowing twice as fast everywhere at once. Of course not. The new water starts at the source and then has to make its way downstream. Money, he argued, works the exact same way.
So let's trace that path. Let's follow the river. It starts at the source. The central bank creates new money. It flows to the first recipients. We're talking big financial institutions, banks, the government, and what do they do with it? They spend it on assets, pushing up the prices of stocks and real estate. Then, slowly, that money trickles down to businesses and eventually to wage earners. But here's the catch for everyone out on the periphery. By the time the money finally gets to you, asset prices have already shot to the moon, and now the prices of your groceries are starting to catch up too. Okay, let's put it all together. We've seen how inflation messes with debt, and we've seen how new money flows through the economy like a river. So now we can draw a really clear picture of the systemic winners and losers in this whole game.
So who consistently wins? Well, first, it's borrowers with fixed-rate debt. That especially includes governments, who are usually the biggest debtors of all. Second, owners of assets. Their net worth just inflates right along with asset prices. And finally, you have the financial insiders, the ones closest to the money source. They get to spend the new money when prices are still low.
And who's on the other side of the equation, the systemic losers? Well, that's savers, who just have to sit there and watch their cash lose value. It's anyone on a fixed income, like retirees, who see their standard of living just get chipped away. It's wage earners, whose paychecks rarely keep up with the rising costs. And, of course, it's the younger generation, who are increasingly priced out of ever owning assets like a home.
So when you boil it all down, inflation isn't just some neutral economic event. It's really a silent tax. And it's a regressive one at that, because it systematically transfers wealth and purchasing power away from the people who get the money last, the savers, the wage earners, and gives it to the ones who get the money first.
Look, this isn't about trying to predict the future, and it's certainly not about giving financial advice. It's just about understanding the system that we're all playing in, knowing that inflation isn't just a minor inconvenience, that it's this powerful engine of wealth redistribution. That is a critical first step. So the real question to leave you with is, now that you see the rules of the game more clearly, how does that change the way you think about your money, your savings, and your own role in the economy?